with Swizz. I fiddled with the knobs on my microphone again, so please let me know how well you can hear me and if my audio is coming through clear, and especially how much of the background noise you can hear. Here's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna keep working on the Swiss CMS that we started building a while ago now. And today, the whole point of today is figuring out how we can share React query stuff between the frontend and the backend, so between server and browser, for multiple reasons. We want to avoid duplicating our code, and we want to see if, what was I gonna say? We wanna see, sorry, I got distracted by the blinking lights back there. So we want to see how we can share that code and whether we can use it for good SSR. Tanner keeps saying that that's something that's possible. I haven't tried it yet, so we're gonna figure it out today together. And hopefully gonna get a full article to submit to GitHub using both the social card image, linking it in the front matter and all of that. So we're gonna get started with, yes, the keyboard shortcut worked. So we're gonna start with going to the React query documentation, because I know there is a section there specifically for this, and following documentation is always a good idea, especially when you're doing something you haven't done before, which I haven't. I like to go in and do these things raw. So let's look for SSR, SSR and Next.js. Yes, Tanner, you have a newsletter. Okay, so let's see. There's some you can do it for pre-rendering. We can also use it for prefetching. We can deal with that, all of that later. Prefetch the query via React query and use d/rehydration. Okay, I don't think we're gonna need any of that right away. So let's start with just going into our code and extracting the React query stuff that fetches the social card image from AWS Lambda, which I think is going to be the social card image. And please let me know in the chat room how well you can hear me when I'm talking away from the microphone. That's the part that's really hard to test on my own when I'm not actually streaming. Great, so social card image, we are using a pretty basic setup for our social card. We have the fetch social card query, and then some use query stuff here that actually does it. So I'm gonna start by, what can we do here? Yes, so we have utils. So let's, next to the utils, let's create a queries. Why is there front matter.js still? Front matter.js in utils, we killed you. Let's remove that. Remove utils front matter.js. And now we're going to, I'm just gonna put it in utils, but you can do that wherever. We're gonna say queries.js and take await social card, fetch social card, and put it in queries.js, which is going to export that function. And nice, popcorn time. Hi, Thirsty Pooch. I'm not gonna go into what that nickname might mean. So one thing we're trying here, I'm not actually sure if fetch is going to work on the backend because it's a browser API, but potentially Next.js is fixing that for us. I don't know if it is. We're gonna find out. So we've got that. We now need to import that here. We say import our, we said fetch, what was it? Fetch social card from /utils/queries. So that should import it on the front end. Now we can use the same code on our back end here, where we have, why is this showing so many things? If we go into publish article, this is the one that needs to create an actual query. So we're going to, what can we do here? We can import it. So let's do import fetch, what was it called? It was called fetch social card. So we say fetch social card from /utils/queries. Okay, so we now have the actual query and we're gonna use it. One thing we're not doing here is that this is not a, that's gonna be interesting. So we're gonna try that. Wow, why am I uploading at 21 kilobytes? My internet seems to be lagging, and it's also really warm today, so I don't know if my computer is managing this. We'll see. So we get the actual query. We can use that here, but we're not in a in what's it called? We're not actually in a React component, so I'm not sure we'll be able to use the query. Let's try. So we're gonna say const how are we using this in social card image? We call the query fetch social card, which then gives us stuff. Okay, so we're going to say const card query and query data URL. So we're gonna say const social card equals await fetch, come on, fetch social card. We're gonna give it some key that we don't really care about. Let's say path. And what did we use for path there? We used the title, right? Yes, so let's use the title. Say article.title, and what else does it expect? So fetch social card is designed to work as a query. Why is my VS Code being weird? Key title. So the key needs to be just whatever. Let's just say key. We're gonna revamp this to actually work more as a React query later. First, we're just fetching it. So we get the social card, and then here in our front matter should be the one that fetches this stuff. So let's move it there. Let's go to the front matter, which is going to import fetch social card from dot / queries, and it's going to say this const social card equals fetch social card. It's an await, which means we need to say that this is an async function now. Or no, let's do it elsewhere. Sorry, I keep changing my mind. So we're gonna give it the hero name here. Hero name. And in publish article, we're gonna fetch it because that's gonna be easier. Social card front matter gets the article. So we pass in the article and we say the hero name is the same as social card dot. Where did we get it? It was in index.js. Come on. Social card image index.js .data.url. Interesting. So I seem to be losing viewers. So I guess this is kind of boring, but whatever. It's still an interesting thing to be doing. So if we go to publish article with await fetch social card, article title, and we post it in a social card dot URL like that. So let's see. Now this should work. It should produce a social card image for us. And then we're going to move towards doing this as a submit. Is this for REST? Are you building your own CMS? So viable clan member, yes, this is for a REST API. And Lazar Nikolov, yes, I'm building a toy CMS that might end up being useful. The main excuse is that I wanted to play around with Next.js and try to build something. So now let's see. I will say this is the best article in the world. It has some sort of description. Okay, so it's a very short article. Why is this not saving? Okay, so we have the image. And now if I do ship it, this will get the social card image again. So ship it, went to this called a piece of backend code. That backend code then talks to the AWS Lambda that creates the social card image and pushes that to GitHub. So now let's go see if it showed up on GitHub. Why not use get server side props to do it? So viable clan member, where would the server side get those props? Because they need to come from somewhere. So if we go to test repo, let's see what test repo says. Well, I don't. How is my backend going to talk to that REST endpoint? So we have the best article in the world, and we have the URL using fetch. Okay, so who calls the fetch? Because that's the whole point of React query, is that it does that part for you. Okay, so we need to make this URL. So we get the URL. Yes, but okay, I'm gonna explain that later. Viable clan member. Let's see if it makes more sense as we play around more. So we got the social card URL from the AWS Lambda. We need to then download that and use it here as the hero name. So we are going to here say to do download social card URL, upload to GitHub, and then use file name as image link. Yes. So the point of React query is that you can do those client side and server side queries with using the same code. So social card, we need to, how do we extract the file name? Oh, I know what we can do. Let's get the hero name. So we have the social card, and we're going to do this. Const, what is it? Const hero name equals social card dot URL. We split that by slash, and we take the last one. So I think that's pop. Let's check in the console. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pop gives us the last one. Perfect. So we split that and we take the last part, put that in. Yes, so viable clan member, there's a lot of ways you can do this. I'm choosing to try doing it with React query as a general framework, but we're still using fetch to make the actual requests. So git status, git add dot, git commit -a -m, and we're going to say this is git commit. It's doing what? What is git commit doing here? It is taking. Have I played around with Strappy? Hey Alesh, what do you? I don't think I've played around with Strappy, Lazar. So we committed that fetch social card when publishing article. Now let's try to play around with the actual server-side props, and let's turn this into the second page. So what I'm gonna do is go into index.js on pages, and here when we first submit, where is it? How do we submit this? We have there should be a submit button somewhere, article form. So on submit, we call set article. Now, instead of set article, we're going to push this to the backend and then come back from the backend. And I don't actually know how to do that with Next.js. How do we redirect to a new page afterwards? That would be interesting to know. So on submit, we get this article, and we can. How do we make an actual submit to where it goes to the backend and then comes back and renders stuff for us. All right, let's try going here. So we're going to do export async, get server side props, and go from there. Actually, let's see if, what is this giving us? So client side fetching, server side rendering overview, prefetch data yourself and pass it in as initial data, quick to set up for simple cases, has caveats, static generation, server side rendering, get static props. You can pass the prefetch data for the page to use queries initial data. That makes sense. So we are going to React query cache provider and hydrate stuff on the server and handing off or dehydrating the query to the client. Okay, so that's what we're gonna try. Oh, nice. Yes, Alej, that is a great idea, using OctoKit for that stuff. You ready to prefetch some data in your pages with either get static props or SSG or get server side props? Custom SSR solutions, yes. So what I want to figure out right now is how can we how can we submit this as an actual form? Because that is something I haven't done before. Let's go to, at least I haven't done it with Next.js. So what I want to do, basically what I want to do right now is use the submit button to send data to the backend and then run a React query on the backend to fetch the social card and stuff, and then push that back to the front end with get server side props or get static props so that we can use the React query on both ends. Try that. And hopefully that is going to do something useful, or at the very least, it's going to let us offload this to a new page so that we can then test it easier. Now let's see, data fetching, fast refresh, static file serving, API routes. What's data fetching? No. Getting started. Let's see if they have anything for forms. Form, submit, post, customizing post, dynamic routes, dynamic API routes, pages with dynamic routes, export path map, next router. Interesting. So this might actually prove to be quite difficult. Fast refresh, static file serving, environment variables. Let's see. How can we, that's the docs. Setup, manual setup, we don't need that. Related pages, CSS, CLI, no. What about API routes? API routes, API middleware, dynamic API routes, response helpers. Yeah, interesting. So it looks like it might not actually let us do that stuff. Let's see. Are there dynamic pages, dynamic API routes? API routes support dynamic routes and follow the same file naming rules for pages. Index routes and dynamic API routes, okay. So what we would need to do is actually save something somewhere. So Lazar, what I'm trying to do is use this submit to submit data to the backend and then load this preview and stuff on a new page rather than using this same page. And it looks like that is not super straightforward. Well, I mean, it's not that bad, but we do need to. I'm also trying to avoid using a database to do this because I don't want to add databases right now. So what I can do instead is, we can use a mutation, like a, let's see, use social card query. We have that thing. So what we can do, let's go into article form, and we're going to the problem is that I'm trying to avoid saving this data, but I will have to save it somewhere because we can't expect it to just stay in memory. So let's go. We're gonna go into article form, which is going to handle submit here. So on submit, we're no longer going to call the parent method. We are going to do this function. Actually, we're going to create a mutation. So we're gonna say const save article is going to be a use mutation, right? Come on, import that thing. Use mutation, auto import from React query, and the mutation is going to do this. So it's gonna get the form values, and it's going to then, let's make this an async function so it can do stuff. Async function, which is going to call a article save mutation. So we go to queries and we write a mutation here. We say export async. Come on, computer, why don't you let me type? Export async function, which is this function is gonna be called save article, and it's gonna get the title and description and the markdown. That's what we're getting. And this function is going to call fetch. So we're gonna say const res equals await fetch, which is gonna go to /API/save article, right? Yes. So this is going to save article in a, let's do this. So body, or let's call it the article, and then we're calling the fetch API, and we're saying method is post, and we're saying method post. What else are we doing? So we're saving it with method post, and then we are doing what? Headers are, let's do, oh, come on. Content type is application JSON, and the body is going to be our article. And I think we have to JSON stringify that. So we're now saving the article on the backend, and we are returning return res.json. All right. So that's gonna do the saving for us, and now the article form is going to handle submit, is going to call save article, and here we're going to call save article, or let's just, yeah, save article. No, fuck. It needs to have a different name. Save article mutation. Let's call it a mutation. And the save article mutation, come on, can you auto import this shit? It cannot. So we say import save article mutation from dot slash, come on computer, utils queries. Okay, so save article mutation is called with the form values, and that should be everything we need. So now React query is going to give us a mutation that we can call, and we can have, what are the options that this gives us? Come on, is there a load? Yes, is loading, and we're going to say here, if is loading, we render a spinner, otherwise we render a button. So we have spinner, auto import, there we go. So we are now going to have a submit button that's going to call, we're going to have a submit button that's going to call our a new API route that we're about to create. And that API route is going to temporarily save the article. And then we can use rehydration and stuff like that to serve the article's preview back to the front end. That seems kind of complicated, but we can do it that way. And the benefit of doing that is that you can then reload the page and do a bunch of interesting stuff there. So let's go. We have the article form. Now we need the save article API route. So we go touch pages API save article.js. And then we're gonna copy from the publish article thing, save article, which is going to export a default function, export default async function that gets a request and a response and returns, let's see, what does it return? Let's go, no, let's just do rest status 200. And what do we return? We don't really need to return anything. We can do just rest status 200, and let's do a body, or let's do a JSON with success true. And now this is going to, for starters, we're going to just console log the body. Okay. And now if we go back to our page here, we can go look down here. So we can say the best article in the world. This is some description, and we say the best title. And when we click submit, that turns into a loading screen or just a loading spinner. And on the back end here, you see we got the title, description, and the markdown. So we can now use this to create a dynamic page. Now we need to save this, and then we can use it to dynamically create a Next.js page. Yes, that's the idea. All right, get status, get add dot. We're gonna say get commit -m submit article to /API instead of local state. Now here, I think we're kind of making this more complicated than it needs to be, but it's an excuse so that we can play around with React query and actually test the server-side rendering and loading, data loading and stuff like that. What do we have to do? Okay, so we've got that part. Now, after we submit, let's see, use mutation should have a way for us to reload the page. Or actually, no, we don't need to reload the page. After the mutation is done, let's see. Mutations and API reference. I know there's a way where we can, let's go for API reference, use mutation, is idle, is loading, is success, on success. There we go. So on success, we can run a function, which we're gonna do here. So on success, we're going to tell the front end to reload the page to a new page, to reload to a new page. I think that makes the most sense. So on success, we're going to oh, I know what we can try. We can try if this actually, if saving something in memory works. Like, does Next.js support that? That would be cool, at least in development. So on success, we're going to call article saved here, which is going to be a function. So index.js on article saved here. Let's actually call it that. On article saved, or a no op. So if on article saved is not provided, we don't want a JavaScript error. So we go here and on article saved equals, what are we gonna do? Oh, we should probably also give it back the URL or something. We can figure that out later. So now let's go into API routes and look at what do dynamic routes look like. How do we make a dynamic route? API routes support dynamic routes and follow the same file naming rules used for pages. Can we do dynamic pages? Routing, dynamic routes. There we go. Use router from next router query. We can then get the title. Perfect. So we can use that to create a path for us. Yes. All right. Yeah, I think so. Examples. Defining routes by using predefined paths is not always enough. Pages post PID. Any route like blah will be matched by that. Okay, so we put it in square brackets. That's something you can do. Okay, so that's client side. Linking between pages. Dynamic routes can be extended to catch all paths. Interesting. Okay, so let's try that. We're gonna try yes, Lazar, that's a good idea. And I think that's something that's similar to what I was thinking is we're going to create basically a temporary page that is a catch-all. So let's try this. We're gonna touch, yes. So touch pages, come on, pages, and we're gonna call it slug.js. No, yeah. So how do I create this file? Like that. Okay. So we open the slug.js page, which is going to look very similar to index.js. And for starters, it's just going to render the actual slug. So we're going to go with import head from next head. And we don't really need that right now, but we need to export default function article preview, which gets stuff. It's going to need to get the Giphy API key. I think it is going to need to get the Giphy API key. So it's going to get the Giphy API key from static props. So we're going to copy this, which I don't think we need anymore in the index page. So we have that. And then we return the slug from, let's see. How did I do that here? We just returned this. And then we set container, which is, come on, import container, auto import. Good. And we are going to render the slug. And here we're gonna take the slug from router. So we say const router equals use router, which needs to auto import. Come on, you can do it. Computer can't do it. Okay, so import use router from next/router. We import that, we say we have it, and then we say const slug equals router.query. Come on, router.query. Okay, so now I should be able to go to on must only be assigned a non-empty expression. What did I do? Okay, on success, we call on article saved, which is not going to do anything yet. And here we're going to say on article saved. Function on article saved. And I think my computer is starting to really struggle with how hot it is. So now we can go to localhost 3000, and if I say this is best, we should get the slug page, which in theory should render get static paths is required for dynamic SSG pages and is missing. Okay. What is get static paths? Get static paths. Why is that not mentioned anywhere? Get static paths. If a page has dynamic routes, it uses get static props. It needs to define a list of paths that have to be rendered to HTML at build time. Okay, so we don't actually need that, but we have to define it. Export async function get static paths, which we don't really know in advance, but whatever. Oh, nice. So Lazar, I should do a quick video on Team UI. That's a good idea. Async function gets static paths. We return the paths key determines which paths will be pre-rendered. For example, suppose you have a page that uses dynamic routes named blah. If you export get static paths from this page and return the following for paths, then Next.js will statically generate those. But we don't have any of those. And what is the fallback section? The object returned by getStaticPath must contain a fallback. If fallback is false, then any paths not returned by getStaticPath will result in a 404 page. Okay, so this is getting... Yep. So known slugs don't have any. Then we can say fallback is true. And I think fallback true will, the paths returned from getStaticPath will be rendered to HTML at build time, have not been generated and will not result, will have a fallback version of the page on the first request for such a path. Will statically generate the requested path. Okay, I think that's what we need. So let's try that again. Come on, enter. We have getStaticPaths. All right, let's try that again. Yarn dev. I think this isn't actually working. Will it work now? Compiled successfully, build page, and then it dies. Get static paths is not, oh, god damn it. I put this in the wrong file. So let's go to slug.js and use it here. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, cool. So we now get the slug. Now let's see if we can share memory between these things, but I don't think we'll be able to. So where can we save this so that it's available? So save article. This needs to save the article somewhere where this page will then be able to read it. Write it in the file. Oh yeah. Share memory on-demand entries. Give you some control over how the server will dispose or keep things in memory. Supposes some options that give you some control over how the server will dispose or keep in memory built pages. No, that's not what we need. So I think the problem I'm having is that I'm doing something that is pretty weird. And is not, it doesn't seem to be something that Next.js fully supports or supports in an easy way. So let's see. We get this shit here. We can then take this, move it. So we no longer need the article here. We just have the article form. And then in the slug, here we're going to actually render the article. So the article is going to be actually, let's just hard code the article for now so that we can figure it out later. So const article equals blah. To do read this from somewhere. And then here in save article, we're gonna add a to do save the article to somewhere shareable. Okay, so we go back into slug.js pages. We're gonna say the article is title, the best article in the world, and it's going to have a description that's a custom description that's cool. And then we're going to have the markdown content, which is going to look like this. I'm gonna take the markdown from my example, from my tech letter app example, because I can. So try example, we take this stuff and we, come on, no. Okay, computer, why are you being so slow? Okay, so we take the markdown, put it here. We don't need the code blocks. We can take those out for now. So we have that. And now we can use that as our example article to actually test the React query stuff. It's gonna be the same article at all times, but it's going to be pretty neat, I think. We'll see. So, okay, we need to import box and heading and stuff. Container, come on. Box, heading, computer, stop being so fucking slow. And then we need CLI copy pasta, social card image, and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go into the index.js page and take all of this stuff from there. Okay. And then we don't need the Giphy API key anymore. Like that. So slug.js now gets all of this stuff. Come on. And it needs to also render the head here. So head title is going to be article.title. And now let's see what happens. Cart query. We now need to get the actual cart query, Why did I delete that? Go back into index.js and borrow the cart query. So the idea here is that we're gonna now actually get into sharing the social card, sharing React query stuff between the front end and the back end. So we don't need that. And on article save, we are going to do route to the new slug. Okay, so we've got that. Now, how can we? So we see now when we go here, we get the preview and everything on the new dynamic page. Now the new dynamic page can actually see here when I reload this, we are, come on, reload. So we're loading the social card image here, but React Query can actually prefetch that in the background while the page is being rendered and loaded and all of that. Let's see if we can figure that out in the next 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, it's gonna have to stay for Wednesday-ish. Okay, so slug.js, now let's see. React query, use mutation, where is the SSR stuff? Server-side rendering overview, blah, prefetch the data. All right, so we're going to prefetch the data here, where we are getting the static props. Get static props, const post, so we can say const social card equals await, come on, await fetch social card with some sort of key, and we say article dot title, right? That was the fetch social card thing. Come on, why are you like this, computer? Publish article, yes, key article title. So come on, slug pages, key and article title, and we're getting the hard-coded article. So that's our social card, and then we can put that in our props as social card, and in our here where we are specifying the social card query, we can say use social card query. Use social card query gets the data, and let's give it initial data. So the initial data is going to come from social card, and we pass in social card into our use social card query. Use social card query is going to get the initial data, which is then going to be pasted in as initial data into the configuration for our use query. So prefetch the query via React query and use d/rehydration. So this is where we're passing it ourselves as initial data. So the idea being that we make the request, we populate the things, and that should do everything for us. In theory, we should also here say that, no, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Go away, Siri. We should say that this never gets old. So stale time is going to be, let's put it at like forever. So let's do it at 5 minutes. 5 times 60 times 1000. 5 min until stale. This is so that we don't have to keep refetching stuff. If it's been 5 minutes or something and the title is still the same, don't need to refetch. We know that the social card is going to stay the same. So this is now doing it manually in the background. Let's see how that works. So now when I reload the page, it's going to take longer to load, but it's supposed to already have social, but it's not working because shit isn't auto importing. So if we go into, why is this not defined? Where is fetch social card not defined? Fetch social card is not defined in, where are we calling? Git grep fetch social card. Okay, we are doing this in so many places. So in publish article, we know that it works, but in fetch social card, it doesn't. Because, let's see, dot dot slash utils queries. That should work. So where is fetch social card not being defined then? So if we go into slug.js, here we have use social card query, use social card query. Now let's see, why is this not working? Integrate. Oh, this also looks cool. Let's try doing it this way. React Query supports prefetching a query on the server and handling of the or dehydrating that query to the client. So this looks like what I was going after. So instead of manually fetching it here, we can use the things. So social card, new. Let's go into here. So we're gonna have to render everything as part of the React Query Cache provider. Let's do it that way. So we have the article preview. And then what we're actually exporting is going to be something that gets the component. Oh, no, wait, that's fine. We can keep default exporting this, but let's go into app.js pages and wrap this in the React Query Cache provider. So I think we still need that. I don't know. So we go React Query Cache provider. Did you import? Come on, auto import. There we go. Auto import query cache equals query cache. And we wrap this stuff so that we don't have to think about it again. And we say hydrate, which comes from React Query Hydration. Cool. Hydrate, which takes as its first state dehydrated state. All right. So in theory, this should now automatically handle everything for us. We import hydrate from React Query /hydration. Right? Come on, computer, you can do this. And then we create a new cache, const query cache equals new query cache. And this needs to auto import. Come on, auto import from React Query. So in theory, this is now going to automatically take care of, or it should mostly automatically take care of fetching the social card on the backend and then serving it to the front end without having to reload it when you are on the page. That's the theory at least. So we'll see how that works. Do we need anything else? Ready to prefetch some data in your pages with either get static props or get server-side props. So now when we go here in our article preview page, we can go into get static props and do some prefetching. Okay, let's do the prefetching. So we're going to prefetch this with const query cache equals new query cache from React Query. and we're going to await query cache dot prefetch query, which is going to be called use social card query. What is it? Social card and title. We need to use the same, we need to make sure that we're using the same key. So that, and we say this is article.title, and we are calling fetch social card as the actual query that's being run. And then in dehydrated state, we have to put dehydrate of query cache. And we have to import dehydrate from, where is this stuff? There is a lot of imports starting to be here. So let's do import dehydrate from React query / hydration. Okay. Cool. So now it's time for the moment of truth. We're gonna see if running this code makes it so that we prefetch the data on the backend and then use get, what's this called? Get server-side props or get static props to push the prefetched query to the front end where it's already going to have the data, which means it shouldn't have to refetch there. But we'll see if that works. And again, our article is hard-coded for now. So the dev server ran. We can open network here to see if we're making network requests. Come on. There we go, computer. You got this. Okay. Reload the page. Module not found. What was not found? Module not found, yes, but which module? Query cache is not exported from React query. What? How is query cache not exported from React query? In this error is not the most helpful. Query cache, why is this a different version of React query than what I have? Yarn add React query. Let's try updating React query then. Okay, that's taking a while. Okay, yarn dev. Okay, the server started. Let's go back here again, reload the page and see what we get. Come on, computer, you got this. Why are you so slow? Internal server error, I think that's still from before. We're compiling the page. And when that finishes compiling, it should render for us. Compiled successfully. Okay. I'm just gonna, what? Page props is not defined. Cool. And why is this all so terrible? Why is page props not defined? That would be in app.js. Come on, app.js. It says page props. And where else are we using page props? It's a typo. Okay, reload the page. Come on, work. Yes, page p props is not defined. We fixed that. Why is this still calling it on the front end? That's the part I don't get. Let's look at the network. React DevTools screenshot gets fetched. So reload. This is the best. Octet stream. Where are we? Are we making a request to my Lambda? That's the question. Screenshot. Okay, yes, it's making requests to the actual screenshot, but is it making requests to AWS? There we go. It is. Interesting. So even though we populated the social card on the back end, it was still being called, right? Let's see, how can we test whether this is actually working? Parse dehydrated state, hydrate, render cache. What we can do is look at what the dehydrated state looks like. Let's do console log page props dot dehydrated state and see if we're actually getting stuff. Maybe there's a mismatch between our between the keys or something. So that reload the file. Sorry, reload that. Reload the page, and why didn't it print anything? Aha. Console log dehydrated state. Come on. You can do this, computer. You got this. So it's rendering here. Come on, reload the page. It's so weird. I wonder why this doesn't seem to be working. Dehydrated state is undefined. And then it comes in. So if we go into, come on, queries, config, data, status, success, that's the URL. Query key is social card, the best article in the world. Cool. Now, is that URL the same as this URL? 1128. Okay, so that is actually working. That's a great sign. The reason I know this is working is that we have the same, whenever you create a social card image, you get a new timestamp here. This is a timestamp. So this being the same as what's in the data and what we got here, it means that we did render this from the backend and we didn't make another request for it. So what I have to do next here is figure out what is the card query doing? Are we ever actually making a request? Or yes, that's what we can do. So if we go to fetch social card, we can here say console log requesting for key and title. So we're now gonna see when we're making API requests to my screenshot Lambda. So when I reload this page, we're gonna see there should be a request being done on the back end when we are fetching the social card. No. Interesting. I feel like this is behaving weirdly. But in theory, it should be working. In theory. Oh, great. And this is undefined. That's fun. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna stop here. Thanks everyone for watching. We made some pretty good progress. We now have React query running on the backend, running some API requests before the page gets loaded, I think, and then using that same data on the front end to make it quicker to load these images and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to test to figure out what's actually happening behind the scenes, but it seems to be working pretty well. So we're gonna continue on Wednesday evening, play around with this some more, and then I'll publish. I'm not gonna publish a write-up about this tomorrow because I have some other things planned, but I will have one next week. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you again next time.